Hello everyone. So in this video we will be discussing about the concrete with properties. Okay. Concrete along with its properties. Okay. So this is important. So your actual RCC, your actual design of concrete starts with this chapter. Up till now whatever we have discussed, it was more or less a theoretical portion, right? But now when I will be teaching you about the properties of concrete, we will be solving some numericals also, right? And this is the portion in RCC in design of concrete which has been asked a lot of times in the GATE examination. Continuously they have been asking. In 2020 also there was a question, in 19 also there was a question, 18, 17, 16 there is at least one question from this section. Okay. Now discussing about the properties of concrete with its properties, I have already told you that the code which we recommend for IS 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 456-2000, right? I have already told in the first video lecture itself. Those of you who don't have a hard copy of this IS code, I will strictly recommend you go to a photocopy shop, get a hard copy and do the spiral binding, right? Not just while preparing for GATE examination, but whenever we will go to the site also, this code, that is IS 456, will be very beneficial to you. Okay. Now, concrete. Concrete is of two types. First one is the PCC. PCC means plain cement concrete. Plain cement concrete. It means that in plain cement concrete, there are no reinforcing bars. Reinforcing bars, steel bars. There are no reinforcing bars. Okay. So where do we use the PCC? It is used with footings. For example, let us say that this is your foundation. Okay. This is your foundation. So in footings, we are using PCC. Clear? Now, footings, foundations, there is a difference between footing and foundation. Whenever you will be studying geotech, you will get to know. So this is known as footing and this portion is known as foundation. There is a difference between the two. Not both these terms are not the same, right? It is used in DPC, dam proof course, and other structures also PCC is used. Now, as far as the RCC is used in this design of structures, we will be strictly dealing with RCC, right? So we will be designing the RCC structures. RCC means reinforced cement concrete. Means that in cement concrete you also have reinforcing bars. Now the question is, why reinforcing bars are used? Why not some other structure, some polypropylene structure, polypropylene substances, or some plastic? Why don't we use those things? Why only we use the steel? So that also has a reason. I will explain that in detail. Okay. Now RCC means reinforced cement concrete. It is used in columns, beams, this slab, right? It is used in these types of structures. Okay. Now the next important thing is you must have seen that while designing concrete, you must have seen some ratio. 1:2:4, 1:1.5:3, 1:3:6, and so on. Now the question is, what is this ratio means? It actually means the percentage of cement is to fine aggregates is to coarse aggregates. For example, let us say you have 1:3:6. It means that the cement concrete will have one part of cement. This is for cement. It will have three parts of fine aggregates. The middle portion is for fine aggregates and the last portion is for coarse aggregates. Okay, this is important. Again, I am repeating. The first portion is for cement, the second portion is for fine aggregates, and the last portion is for coarse aggregate. Let us say I have 1 meter cube of concrete. Okay, let us say it is in the ratio 1:2:4. It means that in this 1 meter cube concrete, so one part will be of cement, two parts will be of fine aggregates, and four parts will be of coarse aggregates. Okay, so that is how we do the ratio. We divide the cement concrete. Now the next thing is, there are some properties also, right? For example, you must have seen M20, M15, M10, and so on. Now what is this? Now let us discuss. Okay, M stands for mixed design. Mixed design, or it is also known as design mix, right? There are two types of mixes. First one is the mixed design and another one is the nominal design. So what is the difference between the two, the mixed design and the nominal design? So let us discuss in detail. I told you that concrete mix is of two types. First one is the nominal design mix and the second one is the mixed design, right? Now, I have told you that you must have seen M20, M30, M40, etc. and so on. So what is this M? M is the mixed design. Now, let us first of all understand that what is the difference between the nominal design and the mixed design, right? Now, listen to me very carefully. Now, nominal design is basically based on your site experience. For example, when I was in site, I have worked around for 1 year in 1 year in site, right? So we used to say that for this concrete mix five bags. For this concrete mix 12 coarse aggregates and 15 fine aggregates, something like that, right? So basically, nominal design is there is no such you can say that predefined mixture for that. That is based on experience at site, right? Experience of the exposure conditions, experience of the project manager, right? So it is based on the experience. So for nominal design, it is already decided by the project manager, right? It is based on the experience at sites. Okay. Now, second thing is the mixed design. This is important. The mixed design, right? So what we do is that, for example, you want to change some, you are not satisfied with the nominal design, right? At that time, what you will do, you will design a concrete as per your requirements. For example, the coastal area is very near to the construction site, so at that time you will design your concrete by yourself. The void should be much more smaller as compared to the nominal design, so it depends on you. Now, changing the ratio, by changing the ratio of fine aggregates, coarse aggregates and cement, you can design the mixed design, right, of concrete. Now, the one more important aspect is that it can be changed as per our requirements. It depends on our requirements, okay? And the IS code, which is specified for the mixed design, is, this is important, it was asked few years back in some examination, it was a theoretical question. It is IS 10262 2009, right? So this is also important. So you must, now you have understood the difference between nominal design and mixed design. A lot of the students, they are mostly confused between nominal design and mixed design. So nominal design, it is predefined by the project engineer based on his experience, but mixed design, you can change it. Okay. Now the next topic is, now we'll be discussing about the mixed design. What is M20? What is M30? What is M40? So let us discuss this, because this part will be very important in solving a lot of numericals. Okay, what is this 20, what is this 30, what is this 40? It is actually the characteristic strength. Now, what is characteristic strength? Let us discuss, right? And one more thing is also very important. The mixed design M20, M30 and M40, questions which is regularly asked is that what is the minimum grade of concrete which can be used in RCC structures? Do you have the answer? I know a lot of you have, right? The minimum grade of concrete which can be used, which should be used for RCC structures, is M20. This question has been asked many times. Okay, so you should remember, even if someone asks you in interview, right, that what is the minimum grade of concrete for RCC, it is M20. Simple. Okay, so this is the minimum grade of concrete. Now, concrete M20, M30, M40, now it has been characterized, it has been grouped, right? So first one is ordinary concrete. Ordinary concrete. Let me change the marker. Second one is standard concrete. Standard concrete. And the third one is high strength concrete. High strength concrete. Okay. So the first one is ordinary concrete. First one is ordinary concrete. The second one is standard concrete. And the third one is high strength concrete. Ordinary concrete, it is M10 to M20. Standard concrete is M25 to M55. M55. And high strength grade concrete is M60, greater than or equal to M60. So this question has also been asked in many examinations. That M20 grade of concrete is number 1 ordinary, number 2 standard, number 3 high strength, number 4 none of these, right? The answer is ordinary concrete. Similarly, M25, M60, basically they are asking questions about the boundary things. For example, if it gives you M60 is a type of number 1 ordinary, number 2 standard, number 3 high strength, number 4 none of these, right? So at that time people will get confused because M60 is a boundary, so M60 is high strength, not all standard, right? Similarly M55, similarly M20, similarly M10. So that's the thing. Okay, so now you have understood the classification of concrete based on ordinary, standard and high strength concrete. Okay, now let us discuss, which I was telling you, what is M40, what is M30, what is M20. M you have already known, it is mixed design. Now what is this 20? 20 is the characteristic strength. It is denoted by FCK. In IS code it has been denoted by FCK. In some books it is also denoted by sigma CK. So now what is this? Now let us understand. Okay, so now we will discuss about a very important topic, that is the characteristic strength, right? So a lot of people have very weak concepts on this topic, the characteristic strength. So first of all, let us see what characteristic strength is. Now in third year also you must have done some experiments. Some people in second year also, I did in second year when I was in college. We used to make some specimen. The size of the specimen was 150 into 150 into 150 mm in some ratio. Now one more thing I would like to tell you, whenever you are checking the strength of specimen, whenever you check the strength of a concrete specimen, what you do, you mix it with some ratio. Let us say the ratio is 1:3:6. Let us say the ratio is 1:3:6. Cement, fine aggregate and coarse aggregate. But whenever you check the strength of mortar, what you do, you take cement in ratio 1:3. What is this 1? That is cement. What is this 3? That is sand actually, right? So, but we are not discussing about mortar as of now. You will be studying mortar in detail in building materials. Okay. But now what we are doing is that we are discussing the concrete, the strength of concrete. So what you have done is that you have taken a mold of 150 into 150 into 150 mm. Let us say this is the mold. Its length is 150 mm, its height is 150 mm, and its width is also 150 mm. This is also 150 mm, right? Now you have placed concrete in it. Now what you will do is that you will provide some curing material also, right? Now you will check its strength after 7 days. First of all, after 3 days, then 7 days, and then after 28 days. That's what you do normally, right? We check 3 days strength, we check 7 days strength, and we check the 28 days strength. Do you think we only make one mold? No, that's not the answer. We make n number of molds. Let us say you make 100 molds. Let us say, for example, right? Let us say you have made 100 molds. You have made 100 molds of 150 into 150 into 150 mm. Let us say the ratio for the time being is of M20. Now, as per the IS code, the ratio for M20 should be 1:1.5:3 normally. It can change again because it's a design mix, right? But normally it is 1:1.5:3 as per IS 10262. Okay. Now, you have placed concrete in it. Now you are checking the strength of these 100 molds after 28 days. Always remember. Now you are checking the strength of these 100 molds after 28 days. Okay. Now if you check the strength of these 100 molds after 128 days, so the definition of characteristic strength is that not more than 5% of the molds. Again I am repeating. Let us say you have made 100 molds and you are designing concrete of M20 grade. It means that the characteristic strength should be 20 Newton per mm square at the end of 28 days. 20 Newton per mm square at the end of 28 days. Now you have made 100 molds. Now in the universal testing machine you have compressed the molds after 28 days and you are noting the strength. Now let us say the first mold has a strength of 21, second mold has 21.5, third mold has 20.99, fourth mold and so on. So out of these 100 moles, maximum 5 moles, again maximum of 5 moles can have a strength less than 20 Newton per mm square, and that strength is known as the characteristic strength. If let us say 7 moles, if let us say 7 moles have a strength of 70 Newton per mm square, and let us say 93 moles have a strength of, let us say, 21 Newton per mm square. So obviously these 93 moles have passed the test. They have strength greater than or equal to 20 Newton per mm square. But the 7 moles, they have failed the test. So at that point of time, these 100 moles, the FCK will not be equal to 20 Newton per mm square. So characteristic strength by definition and books, I have simplified the characteristic strength in a very simple manner, right? Because a lot of people get confused. The difference between characteristic strength, the mean strength, and something, right? So I have simplified it. Again, I am repeating the bookish definition. The bookish definition, because in GATE examination, they are not asking the bookish definition. What they are asking? They are asking the concepts. Okay. So the concept is, out of 100 specimen, maximum of 5 specimen can fail. If it is 4, well and good. If it is 3, much more better, right? If it is 2, best, right? Something like that. But not more than 5% of the samples should fail the test. That is the characteristic strength. And the bookish definition is, characteristic strength is the strength that out of 100, or you can say that 95% sample pass the test. That is alternatively you can say that, right? So this is the simplest definition of characteristic strength. Now the next thing is, in India, what we are doing? We are measuring the characteristic strength with the help of a cube. The size of cubic mold is 150 mm into 150 mm into 150 mm. You place the cube in a universal testing machine. Let us say these are the jaws of universal testing machine. This is the upper jaw, and let us say this is the lower jaw, and you place your cubic sample here. This is a cubic sample, cubic mold. You press it. You apply load gradually. There is a proper gradual, you can say, application of load. I'm not going to detail that how much load is applied. That is not even asked in GATE examination, right? But in India, this practice is followed, right? But out of India, for example, when I was in Mozambique, I was in DR Congo when I was in job, right? I was in PSU, okay? So when I was in job, what we used to do is that we used to sample cylindrical specimen. Cylindrical specimen. But in India, we are testing cubical specimen. Now the question is, let us say, if I ask you the question, let us say you have a cubical specimen of, let me rub it, okay? So in India, we have a cubic specimen of 150 into 150 into 150, right? But in foreign countries, we have a cylindrical specimen. And the size of the cylindrical specimen is, the diameter is 150 and the length is 300 mm. The diameter is 150 mm and the length is 300 mm. Okay, this is the standard. This is standard. And this is also standard for India as per the IS code. Now I am going to ask you one question. The question is that if I test, let us say I am testing M20. Let us say I am testing M20 grade of concrete. Okay, what do you think? Which one will have a higher strength? Whether a cubic will have a higher strength or the cylindrical will have a higher strength? Just think it. What do you think? Cubic or cylindrical? If you know, well and good. If you don't know, just make any guess. Then I will explain. Guess with a logic, not an illogical guess. What do you think? Now let me explain. So out of these two, if I is testing M20 or M25 of any grade of concrete, right? the cubic will have a greater strength than cylinder. The cubic will have a greater strength than cylinder. Now coming to the reason. What is the reason? First reason is, what is your strength? So strength will be equal to failure load divided by area. Okay. Now let us say here the failure load is P. So here the strength will be equal to FCK. Let us say it is FCK. It will be equal to P divided by what is the area of above surface, which is beneath the upper jaw. What is the area? That is length into width. That is 150 into 150, or you can say 150 square. Simple. But in case of a cylinder, if you are applying the same load, let us say you are applying P. Let us say this is FCK. If you are applying the same load P, but for cylinder, if you are applying the same load P, let us say in case of cube you are applying load P and the stress was coming out to be P by 150 square, right? But in case of cylinder, if you are applying same load P, the stress, not FCK, let us say stress, sigma stress, right? In case of cylinder, if you are applying same, then the stress will come out to be P by pi by 4 into 150 square. Why? P divided by pi by 4 into 150 square. Why? Because the area of cylinder which is in contact with the upper and lower jaw, it is a circle, not a square. In case of a cube, it was a square. But in case of a cylinder, it is a circle. So what is the area of a circle? It is pi by 4 d square, right? So P divided by pi by 4 into 150 square. If you solve it, you will get 4 divided by 3.14 into P divided by 150 square. So here also we have P divided by 150 square. Here also we have P divided by 150 square. But in case of cylinder, this stress is multiplied by 4 divided by 3.14. What is 4 divided by 3.14? 1 point something, right? It means that for the same load, the cylinder is experiencing more stress because it is multiplied with a factor, right? So if for same load, cylinder is experiencing more stress as compared to cube, which one has a higher probability of failure? Obviously, cylinder will have a higher probability of failure because for the same load, it is experiencing more stress. Number one reason. Number two reason is about the slenderness ratio lambda. Now you know that we have a slenderness ratio lambda is equals to L upon R. L is the effective length, R is the radius of gyration, right? So the slenderness ratio in a case of cube, it is smaller as compared to the slenderness ratio in case of column. Why? Because column has a lesser diameter as compared to the length. So that is why it has a higher slenderness ratio, right? If a particular material or a particular structure has a higher slenderness ratio, then the probability or chances of its failure are higher as compared to the cubic structure because it has a lesser slenderness ratio. So it will fail like this. It will fail like this. This is the second reason. So that is why the cubic strength is greater than the cylindrical strength. Now, being a civil engineer, I cannot say greater, I cannot say more, I cannot say many. I have to specify a particular number. How much? By how much heavier? How much lighter? Right? Similarly, I cannot say that it has more strength than cylinder. But how much is the strength? So, if you calculate, then you will come out to know that cubic strength is almost equal to 1.25 times of cylindrical strength. This is important. This is an important formula. Just note it down. Very important. That the cubic strength is almost equal to 1.25. Some books are also saying 1.26 times the cylindrical strength. This is important. Okay. Now the next thing which I am going to discuss is that what is the effect of shape? What is the effect of shape? For example, in this even in your third year also you have done the experiment. So we used to do the strength test of a cubic concrete sample in 150 into 150 into 150 specimen, clear mold. Now, what will happen if I increase or if I decrease the size of the mold? Will my strength will increase or will it decrease? So it has a change in the strength. The size of the mold has a change in strength. How much is the change? Let us discuss. And what is the factor which we apply to contradict that change? That we will also discuss. Now let us see what effect will a smaller mold will have on the characteristic strength. What is the effect of a smaller mold on the characteristic strength? Now, what we have been doing in our classes in our college also, we were testing cubic sample of 150 into 150 into 150 for cement concrete, right? For mortar it is different. It is 70.6, right? Now, if you use 100 mm, if you use 100 into 100 into 100 mm, 100 into 100 into 100 mm mold, it is found by some experiments that the strength will increase by 5%. It means that, let us say 150 into 150 into 150 was having 20 Newton per mm strength, then 100 mm mold will have 20 into 1.05. Right? So to counter this change, because in site also sometimes there can be mistakes in preparation of mold. Sometimes the mold, let us say you throw mold from some distance, it can get D-shaped, right? Anything can happen. So to counter that effect, IS code has given us a factor of safety. Now what is the factor of safety which IS code has given? Very important. To counter the size effect, the factor of safety given by IS code is 0.67. Very important. Very important. Why important? Because when I will be teaching you the design of beams, the design of column, the design of slab, there I will be directly writing 0.67 FCK. At that time, don't get confused that from where this 0.67 has come. So this 0.67 is basically the factor of safety to counter the size effect. Clear? Okay? Because we cannot 100% make 150 into 1. There can be some differences. Even inside, even in labs also, there can be some D-shaped structure of mold, right? There can be something. So to counter that effect, we have a 0.67 partial factor of safety. So this is important, right? Now the next thing is, I have told you that the characteristic strength is very important. While explaining the characteristic strength, I told you that let us say we are taking 100 mods, 95% are passing the test, only maximum 5% are failing the test. When we are doing those experiments in labs and even at site also, we are actually drawing a graph. Okay, now the graph is a normal distribution graph. Okay, so let me draw the graph. Here on y-axis, we have number of specimen. And on the x-axis, we have strength. Strength or sigma. Okay. Now, what is strength? You must be knowing, but again, I am repeating. Strength is the load at which a particular sample fails. That is the strength. Okay. Now, if you test 100 molds and you draw a graph, you will get a normal distribution curve like this. You get a normal distribution curve like this. Normal distribution curve, let me write it here. Normal distribution curve is also known as bell-shaped curve. You know it is like a bell-shaped, bell in a temple, right? It is like a bell-shaped structure, right? So it is normal distribution curve. Normal distribution curve, NDC, normal distribution curve. It is a bell shape. You can say it is bell shaped. Bell shaped curve. So a lot of questions are asked from this topic. I will also be solving one GATE numerical also, which was based on this topic. I guess it was in GATE 2012. A question came. Okay. Now this peak. So before explaining the peak, let me explain you one more thing. If you know the properties of normal distribution curve, then well and good. because it must be it should be taught in engineering mathematics in details, right? But if you don't know the properties of normal distribution curve, just for the concrete purpose, design of concrete purpose, I would like to tell you that this peak gives you the mean strength. Mean strength. It is noted by Fm. Mean strength. I am writing here Fm is mean strength. Fm is mean strength. Now what is mean strength? Let us say you are testing 100 moles. One has 22.1 Newton per mm square, one has 20, one has 19.6, one has 23 point something. So you add all these and you divide it with the number of samples, you will get the mean strength. So this peak will give you the mean strength, Fm. Right? Now what is the definition of characteristic strength? Just remember, I told you that the characteristic strength is the strength that maximum 5% sample can fail the test. Maximum 5%, right? It means that, let us say this is mean strength, okay? This is 100%, this is 0%. So somewhere here, you will have 5%. Somewhere here, you will have 5%, right? So this is strength. It means that the samples below this can fail. These samples can fail, but these samples will pass the test. So this strength is FCK. FCK means the characteristic strength as per the definition. Clear? अभी तक समझ आया? Now clear, right? Now this is FCK, that is the characteristic strength. This is mean strength. Now this is a primary class question. If you want to calculate Fm by FCK, what you have to do? I know that Fm will be equal to FCK plus this distance, let us say this is x. Let us say this is x. FCK plus x. Right? Now what is this value of this x? Right? So when you go to the elementary mathematics and engineering mathematics also, if you study the normal distribution curve, you will come to know that if you subtract the 5% part, then the distance between the mean and this 5% is actually 1.65 sigma. So x is equal to 1.65 sigma. I will explain what is the sigma. So x is actually equal to 1.65 sigma. This x is actually equal to 1.65 sigma. So in equation, can I write Fm is equals to Fck plus 1.65 sigma. Right? Learn it. Very important. Very important. It means that if you want to calculate the mean strength and you know the characteristic strength, what you have to do? You have to multiply the standard deviation with 1.65 and you will get the answer. Now the question is, sir, what is this standard deviation? So let me take you back to mathematics. You know that variance is given by Fi minus Fm upon Fm summation. Right? You can say it is mu Fm. Fm is the mean. That is how you get the variance. Now what is standard deviation? Standard deviation is the square root of variance. This is variance. Right? So standard deviation will be equal to under root of divided by n, number of samples. Right? It will be equal to summation of Fi minus Fm upon mu divided by n square. N, right? Okay, this is standard deviation. Now, don't get confused. This is the mathematics part, right? In design of concrete structures, what is our Bible? Our Bible is IS 456-2000. So there is a very good news for you that you don't have to remember all these formulae. This will be used in engineering mathematics in GATE examination, right? What you have to do is that IS 456-2000 has given certain values of this sigma. Now those values you have to remember, right? Now one more thing I would like to tell you before proceeding further is that I have already told you in my first lecture that in IS code there are a lot number of clauses. It is almost next to impossible to remember all the clauses, but the clauses which are very important as far as the gate point of view is concerned, I will be explaining you each and every clause, right? So this clause in IS 456 which determines or which gives you the value of sigma is very important, right? So don't go into the clause, I'm just writing the value of sigma. How much value of sigma the IS code has given for which type of concrete, okay? When here you are noting down, just pause the video and note it down, right? Okay. Now the value of sigma as per the IS code. Value of standard deviation sigma. Standard deviation sigma as per IS 456 2000. Write it down. Values of standard deviation sigma as per IS 456 2000. Right? So if you have M10 to M15, the value of sigma is 3.50. Right? If you have M15 to M25, right? If you have M15 to M25, then the value of sigma is 4, right? And if the design is greater than M25, then the value of sigma is 5. This is important. Okay, M20 to M. Right? This is important. Okay, so the value of standard deviation should be remembered to you. Right? It will be very beneficial in solving a lot of numericals. So I'll be giving you a few numericals. Okay. Now we'll be solving some numericals. Now coming to the next important topic, that is the acceptance criteria for concrete as per IS 456 2000. Now this is very important. From this topic, a lot number of questions and even numericals also have been asked in previous year gate examination, right? And not just gate, in other examinations also. So this topic is important. As I have told you, I will be telling you only those clauses which are important for gate perspective, right? Otherwise, you know that in IS 456 there are a lot number of clauses. Okay. So what does it say? It says that if the grade of concrete is M15, if the grade of concrete is M15, then the individual strength, individual means, I told you that whenever we are testing cubes, we have 115 to 115 to 150 mm cube, right? So whenever we are testing the cubes in universal testing machine, UTM or compression machine, then what we get individual strength of every cube. So the code says that the individual strength of every cube, it should not be smaller than FCK minus 3. It should always be greater than FCK minus 3. Okay. The next thing, then only it is accepted. The next thing is the average strength. The average, or you can say the mean strength of all the samples, it should be equal to FCK plus 0.825 sigma or FCK plus 3 maximum of the two. Okay, so this is the code has specified the acceptance criteria for concrete, right? Now the question is, so you told us that the average strength is FCK plus 1.6 times of sigma. So what is this? So actually what is this is that I'm telling you in short. For example, let us say you are making concrete at site, right? So at site, exact conditions which you can perform in laboratory cannot happen, right? So there can be some disbalance, right? So for that, the IS code has given some acceptance criteria. That suppose that you are making concrete at site, right? It's not time to go as per the IS code, not actually as per the 1.65 times of sigma. So what you have to do, if your average strength comes out to be greater than or equal to FCK plus 0.25 sigma or FCK plus 3 maximum of the two, you accept the concrete. You can lay the concrete at site, right? So that is the acceptance criteria for concrete as per IS 456. Now the second thing is, which is important, that is for M20. Now individual strength is FCK minus 4. This question was asked in GATE examination, in theoretical question, okay? And the average strength, it is FCK plus 0.25 sigma and FCK plus 4 maximum of the two. Okay, so this is important. So I hope you have understood this topic. Now the next thing is, which I will be teaching you, is the strength in concrete, which is very important because based on the basis of the strength, a lot number of questions are asked in examinations. Okay, so the next topic is strength in concrete. Now I would like to tell you one thing, that concrete, you must be knowing also that concrete is very good in compression, right? If you apply a lot of compressive force, after that it gets broken into pieces. Either it gets crushed if it is a cubical sample, or it gets buckled even if it is a cylindrical sample, right? It means that the concrete samples, they are very strong in crushing, or you can say in compression. But what about tension? What about tension? Obviously, there is a reason for that also, because for example, let us say this is a concrete sample. I am drawing the front figure, right, or the front view. Now, if you apply forces from this and this, now there are aggregates, okay? The cement is in between, which acts as a binding material. Okay, if you apply force, then the force actually gradually gets transferred to each and every particle. Gradually it gets transferred with the help of cement, because cement acts as a binding material. So cement actually transfers the force to all the particles, right? Actually, if you apply force, then it gets gradually distributed to all the particles, right? So obviously it can resist a lot number of pressure, a lot number of stress. But as far as the tension is caused, if a tension is caused in a cubical sample, let us say that this is again a cubical sample and you are applying some tension. Now what is happening? Now the thing which is happening is that, let us say these are the aggregates, there is cement in between the aggregates. Okay, now if you are applying some pull, now what will happen? These particles, they try to get detached from each other, right? And cement, which acts as a binding material, it is not able to transfer the force equally to all the particles. So what will happen? It will get detached easily, right? So that is the reason why the compressive strength of concrete is higher than the tensile strength. We all know that concrete is very good in compression and is very poor in tension, right? Now, the thing is, how do you measure the compressive strength? I have already told you, we make molds of 150 into 150 into 150 mm. Gradually we apply load and we note down the load at which the sample breaks. We divide the load with the surface area of the sample, and that's how we get the strength of the sample, right? Simple. The second type of strength which concrete has is the flexural strength. Next important strength in concrete is the flexural or bending strength. If you have studied SOM, you must be knowing the flexural or the bending formula, which is very important in beams, right? So what is the bending formula? Sigma by Y is equals to M by I is equals to E by R, where sigma, Y, M, I, E, R have their respective meanings. Sigma is the bending stress, Y is the distance of the furthermost fiber from the neutral axis, M is the moment which is developing at that section, I is the moment of inertia, and E is the flexion, Young's modulus, you can say Young's modulus, and R is the radius of curvature, right? So that is important, right? From here, you can easily get the value of the bending strength of a particular beam. Now, how bending or flexural strength is determined? Actually, you have an arrangement like this. You have a beam, and at the supports. Now these are the supports. Now you apply some load here. Now, after some time, what will happen? The cracks will develop, and you will note down that particular loading at which the crack has developed, right? You will note down the radius also. From there, you will get the bending strength, right? So I have performed this experiment a lot number of times, so I'm not going to detail with that because that is not also important, right? Flexural strength, that is flexural strength. The third thing is the split tensile strength. Now, what is the split tensile strength? Split means getting broken into two parts, right? Splitting. Now, for example, what we do in split tensile strength, you have a cylinder. I told you in foreign countries, they are testing cylinders instead of cube. Now, how to measure split tensile? You place cylinder upside down like this, tilt, right? You place cylinder like this. These are the jaws of universal testing machine. These are the jaws, and you apply loading. Gradual loading. After some time, a crack will develop and it will be broken. Right? That is how we determine the split tensile strength. The split tensile strength, there is a formula for that. That is given by split tensile strength. Type of strength is split tensile strength, right? Now, how to measure the split tensile strength? Split means breaking into two parts. Okay, so split tensile strength is determined by cylindrical specimen. Cylindrical specimen. Cylindrical specimen, right? I have already told you in foreign countries they are mostly using cylindrical specimen, right? So how to determine this split tensile strength? Now you have universal testing machine. These are the jaws of UTM, universal testing machine. Now in case of in case of compression, what we used to do? In case of cylinder, we used to place cylinders like this. Remember, I told you. But in case of split tensile strength, what we do? We actually lay down the cylinder. Now this is the cylinder. If I show you some side view, it will be like this. The cylinder will be like this. So you are compressing the cylinder. After some time, what will happen if you gradually increase the load? This is the front view of cylinder, right? This is the front view. So it will get broken like this. It will be split into two parts, right? So the load at which it gets split into two parts is noted down, right? And split tensile strength, let me denote the split tensile strength by, let us say, FCT, right? FST. So FST, split tensile strength, the formula is 2P divided by pi dl. Important, this is important, note it down, right? 2P divided by pi dl. What is P? P is the load at which the cylinder gets split into two parts. What is pi? 3.14. What is D? Diameter of the specimen. And what is L? L is basically the length of the specimen. L is the length of this. Let me write it down here also. D is the diameter. And L is the length of specimen. L is the length of specimen. So this is also important. Now the fourth type of strength which is given by IS code is the direct tensile strength. Fourth one is direct tensile strength. Direct tensile strength. It is very difficult to measure direct tensile strength, but still we have a lot of methods. One briquette is there, you pull down the briquette, you note down the load. A lot of methods are there. But first of all, let me tell you what is direct tensile. When you directly pull the samples, you will get a direct tensile strength. But IS 456-2000 has given us a formula for direct tensile strength, right? And that is very important. Now the formula given by IS 456 for direct tensile is, let me denote the direct tensile strength by FDT. DT means direct tensile strength, right? It is equals to 0.7 root FCK, where FCK is the characteristic strength. So this formula has been given by IS 456-2000. Note it down, remember it, do whatever you want, but remember this formula and never forget it in this life actually, right? Because this formula is being used a lot number of times. Earlier GATE examinations, GATE people, they used to ask numericals directly based on this formula, but nowadays what they are doing, they are indirectly asking numericals based on this formula. So this formula is very important, right? So remember this formula by heart. That is FDT, direct tensile strength, is equals to 0.7 root FCK. Now for example, if someone says you what is the direct tensile strength of M25 grade concrete, what you will do? Simple. Now what direct tensile strength is equals to 0.5 root FCK. FCK here, what is FCK? That is 25. So root 25. What is root 25? 5. So it will be equal to 0.7 into 5. It is equals to 3.5 Newton per mm square. Simple, like this. Now these type of numericals GATE used to ask in previous year, like 2012, 13, even 14 also. But nowadays they are not asking direct questions, they are asking indirect questions. What type of questions they are asking, we will discuss in subsequent videos, right? Now the next important thing is when you are testing the concrete sample in compression, you get a graph. Now that graph is very important because from that graph you get the modulus of elasticity of concrete. That graph is known as stress versus strain curve of concrete, or you can also say the behavior of concrete under stress, right? So that graph is very important. Let us discuss the graph. That graph is very important. Okay, now let us study about the elastic deformation of concrete, or you can say that the stress versus strain curve for concrete. Listen to this part very carefully, because the curve which I am going to draw right now, it will be used while designing of beams, right? Singly reinforced as well as the doubly reinforced beams. So this is very important. Now when I will be teaching you about beams, I will not be explaining you regarding the graph, right? Now I am going to explain you regarding the graph in detail. Just listen to this very carefully. You will not face any problem while designing beams. This is very important. Okay. Now, if you apply, let us say that this is the cubical mold, 150 into 150 into 150 mm. You apply some load from here as well as here. Now what will happen when you will initially apply load? Stress will be increased, strain will also be increased, and at some point of time a load P will be reached where it will break, or you can say it has failed actually, right? Now first of all I am going to draw the ideal curve. If you are going to perform the experiment in lab, what type of curve you get. Okay, so if you perform the experiments in lab, you will get this type of curve. It is just like parallel. Initially it is straight, little bit straight. After that it starts getting parabolic. Let me draw it again. Initially it is straight, after some time it is like this parabolic, or you can say extend it like this, right? Now let us say this strain is 0.002 and the strain at which it breaks is 0.0035. 0.003. I will explain what these are. 0.002, 0. I will explain each and everything. Okay. Now this is the realistic curve. Realistic means this is the actual curve what you get in your laboratory. But you know that this curve is very difficult to interpolate, right? It is very difficult to get the Young's modulus. What is Young's modulus? Young's modulus, you know that in strength of materials, stress is directly proportional to strain. Stress is directly proportional to strain. If you remove the sign of proportionality, you get a constant, and that constant is known as the Young's modulus of elasticity, E into E epsilon, right? So this is known as the Young's modulus of elasticity. So in graph, how do you get the Young's modulus? If you calculate the slope of the graph, you will get the Young's modulus, because this is y is equals to mx plus 0, mx plus c. What is m? M is the slope of the line, and what is m? M is actually E. So from stress strain curve, the slope of the graph, you will get the value of m of E, right? Similarly here also, and you know that this is realistic curve. This is the actual curve what you get in laboratory, right? At every point of this curve, E has different value. Here, this is E. This is E. This is slope. Slope is tan theta. Let's say this is EC. Right? At this point, you have different E. You draw slope, you get different E. Let us say it is ET. Right? So at every point, you get different value. Right? So it is very difficult to interpolate to get some idea about the value of modulus of elasticity from this curve. So it is very difficult. So our code, it has specified, or you can say it has modified this curve into a simpler curve. Why? So that we can easily interpolate a lot of information from the graph. Because this graph, it is very difficult to get all the information. Okay. So what is the graph which has been given by the code? I will explain you that also. But before going to that point, this slope, or you can say the initial slope, if I draw a tangent initially to this curve, this is known as the initial tangent. He is known as the initial tangent modulus. Tangent modulus. This is known as the initial tangent modulus. Okay, so initially it will be straight, then slowly. At this point, the graph, it changes gradually into a parabola. Now it was a small parabolic curve. Now from here it changes gradually to a declination. From up to here it was inclination. Now after this point it will be into declination, right? The angle will start decreasing. So this point, this is point number A. Okay, so this point, if you draw a tangent at this point, this is known as the final tangent, right? So let us say this is ET. So ET is the final tangent. Final tangent. And because you are getting the slope, you are getting as modulus, it is also known as final tangent modulus. Now, one more important thing. What Britishers are doing, they are not using neither EC nor ET. What they are using? They are using another modulus which is known as secant modulus. So what is secant modulus? If you join the origin, this is origin. If you join origin to this point, let us say you are joining origin to this point. Let us say you are joining this. So the angle which you are getting, or the slope you are getting, let us say this is ES. So ES, or it is also known as E theta also, whatever you want, E theta or ES, right? This ES is known as the secant modulus, right? So ES is known as secant modulus. Britishers are using this modulus, secant modulus, okay? So this was all about the realistic curve of stress strain of concrete. Now let us go to the curve which has been given by the IS code, and in that curve I will explain you what this is 0.002 and what is 0.0035, right? So let us see what that curve is. Okay, now I have drawn the graph which has been given by the code. So this is also important. Why this has been given by code? I told you that the realistic graph which we get in laboratories, it is very difficult to grasp a lot of information, right? So to simplify that, the code, the IS456 has given us this graph. So what it says, the IS code says that up to a strain of 0.002, I am again repeating, up to a strain of 0.002, the concrete behaves, or the concrete is elastic in nature. Now what is elastic? You must be knowing, if you have studied fluid mechanics. Elastic means if you are applying some force, if you are removing the force, the particular object or any substance, it will return back to its original position. It means that if you remove load, let us say here, the concrete sample will return back after some time to its original position, right? But after this strain, that is after 0.002, if you remove load here, it will not come back to its original position. There will be some permanent deformation in the concrete sample, okay? And at this strain 0.0035, the concrete sample will break. So this is the failure strain. The strain at which the sample will fail is 0.0035. This is given by the IS code. So IS code has simplified that. Initially it will be a little bit of parabolic in nature, after it will be totally plastic in nature. So this is elastic and this is plastic and this is elastic, correct? Up to strain of 0.002 it is elastic and then it is plastic. Now if I draw a tangent passing through the origin to the initial curve, this is EC, or you can say the initial tangent modulus, EC. EC is the initial tangent modulus. Initial tangent modulus. EC is the initial tangent modulus. The value of EC has been recommended by IS 456. What is the value of this EC? Very important, very important. The value of EC given by IS 456 is 5000 root FCK. So this is the modulus of elasticity which has been recommended by IS 456. Very important, right? So you can get the value of modulus of elasticity by two ways. If you have graph, draw a straight line, draw tangent, measure the angle, you will get the modulus of elasticity. But if you don't have a graph and you have the characteristic strength, just put it in this formula and you will get the modulus of elasticity of concrete. Very important. But this modulus is actually the initial tangent modulus. What is initial tangent? Which you get initially, because after some time it is getting changed actually. The slope is getting changed. So after some time you will get a different modulus. After some time a different modulus. Creep will be there, shrinkage will be there, temperature effects will be there. That all those effects we'll be discussing in next videos, right? But this is very important. Just like 0.7 root FCK you have learned, you have to learn this formula also, that is EC is 5000 root FCK. So this is very important. Directly or indirectly, GATE is asking this type of question. In 2017 also there was a question like this, directly or indirectly, and in ES almost every year one question is coming from this portion, right? Earlier it was direct questions, but now they're asking indirect questions also, right? So very important. So that's all for in this video. In next videos we'll be discussing about the effect of creep, shrinkage, the effect of temperature on concrete, and after that we will be proceeding for the numerical part, and after that we will be going to the designing part. Okay, so thank you.